Welcome back to Nightstand Coffee. I'm Todd.
And I'm Jennifer.
And this is Season 2, Episode 6.
Yeah, and we skipped a week because last week Todd had walking pneumonia. And like
And I sounded like this.
You sound like Charlie Brown's teacher, is what you sound like. And you coughed all the time. Like there's no way we can record an episode and be successful because like there was no like voice happening. So we had to skip a week.
Yeah.
So that's what's happened here. Hopefully you can get through this episode without coughing.
Well, I think I can. I'm getting a little better. I do have to swallow once in a while to keep that tickle out of my throat. It was crazy. This weekend I led worship at church, with and with almost no voice. It was not easy. But I've had several people, even in the last couple of days, go, I can't believe you led worship with walking pneumonia. It's like, well, I can't believe I did it either.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
I don't know how I did it, but I did it.
Yeah,
it was hard.
for sure.
Anyway.
Yes. And so I did kind of at the end allude to having a story that I wanted to share. And so I want to open with that.
Yeah.
This is our story. So I think we decided we're going to talk a little bit about sanctification and how our marriages help us to look more like Jesus.
Yeah. I'm glad you defined the word for them because some people may not know that's
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah,
and
way to go.
So sanctification is the process of looking more like Jesus and how like you're working out the things in our lives that don't look like Jesus and you become more like Christ.
Right.
And so our belief is that it's a process. Like we never actually become exactly like Jesus until we get to heaven. And so like you're constantly, there's always will be something that doesn't look like Jesus. And so we're working that out.
Right.
So the story that I was promising to tell you, because I had to make sure we hadn't told it already. Actually, I had to make sure that you gave me permission to tell this because as you will learn, this has been somewhat of a touchy story.
Right.
It's always been incredibly hilarious to me.
Yeah, so when we start to talk about the things that God's had to work out in us, you'll understand why this was not my favorite story for a while.
Yes. So for those of you that know Todd, when he preaches, he likes to get really wound up. Like he can get worked up and he gets very, very passionate about it. And most of the time when people compliment him with his preaching, that is something that they talk about is that he is able to deliver a sermon with fire and vigor, right? He gets really passionate. And so something that you may not know about him is that when he got his grown-up teeth, he had one tooth that did not grow in.
Never came in.
Yep. And then one tooth that was grown kind of crooked. And so then whenever he got braces, there you go with the coughing.
Sorry.
When he got braces, like he ended up having to get a partial put in.
Yeah. So I had one tooth that didn't grow in, and the one on the other side, in the exact same spot, was a dwarf tooth. Like it was really small, way smaller than my other teeth. And so they ended up pulling it when I had braces, and then my braces made space for teeth to go there where they were missing. And
so then they created a partial for you. And so then you had these two teeth on a flipper partial.
Right.
And so then over the years, this partial got loose.
Yes.
And so you could kind of flip it in and out. In fact, side note, the first things I ever had said to my future husband that I didn't know was my husband was, hey, you're that new youth pastor from Faith and you can take your teeth out.
Yeah.
That's my pickup line to my husband. Anyway, so.
Most Arkansas pickup line.
Oh my gosh.
Ever.
It worked.
Here we are.
Almost 26 years later.
Yeah, we're getting close.
So anyway, these two facts, he's got this flipper is kind of getting loose. So you can maybe hear where the story's going.
Right.
So Todd is very passionately preaching. He is at it. And all of a sudden, he's got his finger out and he is like letting him have it. He is poking his finger and he is blah, 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 blah. All of a sudden, his teeth shoot out of his mouth. And he grabs them with his hand and he pops them back in his mouth. And without missing a beat, keeps preaching his sermon.
That's right. The part that you guys need to pick up on is that with my cat-like reflexes, I caught them in midair
and shove them back in his mouth and keeps going. And so I'm in the back of the church with my friend, and I'm like, "Did that just happen?" And she said, "Yes, it did." And I'm like, "Oh my word!"
It did. Indeed, it did.
So he was able to catch his teeth and just pop them back in and keep going. And so like. This was amazing. So my man's got skills.
Yeah, and so that same partial, as you could, it was loose, obviously, washed out of my mouth in a jet skiing not really accident, but when I was jet skiing and made its way to the bottom of a lake. And so then we had no more excuses because what had been really easy for me to do is go, well, I can't afford to get new stuff and we'll just put it off until, whenever. And then we couldn't put it off anymore. And so now I have permanent.
Well, you're skipping it. We got it. We got another flipper.
Did we?
Yes. And then you threw up. And you threw those.
I forgot I lost 2 of those things.
Yeah, and you threw those up, and you didn't know that was under the throw up, and you flushed those.
This is such a great conversation.
Well, I remember.
I flushed one.
Yeah, and then I said, no more. Now we're getting.
Yeah, so now I have beautiful.
Well, and then I had to call the dentist because you came home and looked like you had 2 chiclets on your teeth.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, listen.
We're not paying for this.
Exactly. And then you have the beautiful teeth that you have now. So if we're going to give all the details.
It was quite a saga for me to have the smile that I have.
Correct. And so I said, I'm not paying for this. My husband looks like he's wearing chiclets. Fix this.
It was pretty bad. I had a Lauren Bacall gap between.
It was something. And we're not doing this. But anyway, so take it away, Todd. So that's a story that I loved. I enjoyed telling because I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
I am all about, I have every comfort at being able to laugh at myself and tell stories about myself. I don't mind being the center of attention, even being the laughing stock in some ways. That is something that my family, I don't want to say is good at, but maybe. My mom was always good at telling stories and being funny and not minding being a joke of something.
And I would say for me, if I was the one telling the story about myself, if I was getting to curate the narrative, I don't mind being self-deprecating. I don't mind kind of poking fun at myself a little bit. But I wanted to be able to pick and choose what those things were.
Yeah.
And I was very sensitive to other people talking about
those things.
Yeah. So I was really embarrassed about my teeth. And so you would share this story freely all the time. Mm-hmm. When we met new people, you would lead with it.
I don't know, not quite.
And almost.
At least the second or third date. Come on, babe.
And so I hated that. Mm-hmm. I hated it. I felt embarrassed. I felt demeaned. I felt like you weren't being considerate of me or my feelings and it was really, really hard for me to be okay with it. Mm-hmm. And the reality was and is that there's nothing wrong with you telling that story. It's funny.
Yeah.
And now I can tell it on a podcast that will be forever, available on the internet for people to listen to. And in fact, I have told this story myself at a National Worship Leaders Convention, and they played it on the screens.
That's right.
For 3,000 worship leaders. Mm-hmm. So I don't have zero problem with it now. But that's something.
You're welcome.
Well,
okay.
Let's give Jesus the credit. That's something that God had to work out in me.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because I had an issue. And even still, right? The thing that I would struggle with is being overly concerned with other people's opinions. Mm-hmm. Being overly cautious in, as a leader, even.
Sure.
Because I'm worried about hurting people's feelings or creating turmoil or there being conflict, and I want everybody to think good of me. I want everybody to get along. I want everybody to be happy. I want, and so I can tend to be a people pleaser because of those tendencies. And so constantly, not constantly, but regularly having that rough edge,
sawed on
by you telling those stories was something that I had to wrestle with, because I could have just responded by being mad at you, going, hey, don't you ever tell that story again. Don't you talk about that in front of other people. That's so embarrassing to me. And then, I could have done that. Mm-hmm. I knew that wasn't the right tact, right? I knew that wasn't the right thing to do. And so what I had to do was go, okay, well, God, why do I hate that so much? Why is that embarrassing to me? Mm-hmm. the fact is, those 2 teeth come out.
Yeah.
What of it?
Yeah.
Does that really have any bearing on who I really am? Right? Is it really a statement of value that,
Right. Well, and then the second thing would be your name.
Yeah. Sorry, Mom. I know it's gonna hurt your feelings that I didn't like my name, but my name is Ricky Todd Stanley. Right? So I have 3 first names for one thing. And then Ricky Todd sounds pretty country, right? Now, the reality is I was named after my Uncle Rick, who's a great man.
Very brilliant.
A pastor, someone to emulate, really smart, really, like my Uncle Rick is awesome. And I am and should have always been proud to have been his namesake, right? But Ricky Todd sounds pretty country. And for whatever reason, I did not want to be identified as being country. And so my name bothered me.
Well, and so then I am always enamored with someone that has a different name, because I have the same name as every woman that was born from 1970 to 1992, because that was the most popular name. And so I think I've talked about it before, like I remember being in 4th grade and there were at least 4 Jennifers just in my own classroom, right?
Yeah.
And so like I've never, ever, ever had the freedom to just be Jennifer. Like I've always had to go by my first and last name. In fact, it took me a long time to figure out this was why, but I hyphenate my last name. And so because whenever I was in college and whenever I got married, I was like, nobody's going to know who Jennifer Stanley is. I'm going to have to be Jennifer Hinkle Stanley, because I thought I was losing my identity.
Yeah.
And I thought it was because like, I'm getting married, I'm losing my identity. Like I'm as a woman. The reality is like, I felt like my name was Jennifer Hinkle because I couldn't just be Jennifer. And so like, I was like, I had to keep my maiden name because I felt like that was my name.
And I'll be honest, there was part of me when we first got married that was like, why can't you just take my name?
You didn't speak about that though. Let's be fair. I asked you about that. I talked about hyphenating my name and you told me it was okay.
I know.
Okay. You should have told me if you really had an issue with it.
Well,
you didn't tell me.
I know.
Okay. Because we discussed it. Like the audience needs to know.
I'm a people pleaser. we just talked about this.
The audience needs to know we discussed this. Well, I didn't just like go rogue and say I'm doing it. We talked about it and you told me you're fine with it.
I did.
Okay. So this is the first time hearing that you had an issue about it.
I did.
Okay.
I'm a recovering people pleaser. Now you know. Now you know.
Thank you. Well, to be fair, I don't even know where I use it half the time. Like I forget what it even is. So like it's on official documents and that's really about it. But,
well, and to be fair, I really don't care.
Well, I'm glad that you've recovered.
Yeah.
So, but the reality for me is the point I'm making is that I love it when someone has a unique name. When someone has something different that no one else has, I'm like, oh, tell me what your name is. I want to hear about this. And so the fact like my girls don't have overly common names, but they don't have overly different, like they're kind of in between, right?
Yeah.
I didn't want to have the name that everybody had because like I love the fact that we can't quite find our girls' names when we go places. Like if you go to a store and you're looking for names on a rack, you're going to find Jennifer and there'll be like 3 rows of it because they want to have enough for all the Jennifers in the world. Jennifer is going to be an old lady name. It's going to be like Bertha and Gertrude because nobody's using it anymore. Right. And so like, it's so boring. And so the fact that like you have a different name, I think is super cool. And so like, I want people to know my husband got a really cool name. Like he's got a name nobody else has. Like, guess what? He's got this name secret. His name is Ricky Todd. And so like, I think it's a fun fact. And so like, I would share that because like, guess what? Like he's got this name secret. And so like, I'm not telling it to be embarrassing at all. I'm telling it like, guess this cool thing. Cause like my name is super lame. It's the same name as the other 5 women in the room. Yeah. Right. And so like, I think I'm telling this really cool fun fact about my husband. Right. I'm not trying to embarrass him that he's like from country bumpkin land.
Right.
And the Falcon Monster.
And even if I am from country bumpkin land, which by the way, I am. I grew up really country.
You're redneck and skinny jeans. You usually wear that with pride.
Yeah. I grew up in the middle of nowhere. And
with one traffic light. With the Falcon Monster.
Well, one blinking traffic light. It wasn't even a real traffic light.
That's right.
Yeah. So anyway, like, and I grew up really blue collar, right? Mm-hmm. And with around farmers and, when we fished and hunted and And I love all of that now.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, number one, I love those things as a form of recreation. But number two, I'm really proud of where I came from.
Yeah.
It shaped me. It made me who I am. But there was a season in my life when that I was not proud of that. I wanted to be thought of as smart, as if I couldn't be smart and be from there. Yeah. I wanted to be thought of as educated. I wanted to be thought of as sophisticated, and so like Ricky Todd doesn't sound really sophisticated.
Yeah.
Really sophisticated? Wow.
You got to work on that.
Yeah. As you can tell, I'm not very sophisticated. And so,
right.
And so like, I didn't want to lead with that.
Right.
I didn't want that, and then too, like I've never gone by Ricky.
True.
My parents called me Todd from day one. Mm-hmm. There was never an intention to call me Ricky. And so then people think it's weird when you go by your middle name. And so then I got to explain that. Why don't you go by Ricky? And so I just didn't like it to be brought up.
Yeah.
It just, it's like, I'm just Todd. Let me be Todd. And so again, it was one of those things where it's like, I knew deep down that it wasn't an important enough thing for me to make an issue of it.
Right.
But it bugged the crap out of me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could have said, please, even if, I probably wouldn't have said please because I was mad about it, right? So I could have said, don't do that. Don't embarrass me like that. Don't tell people my first name. Don't, well, that would have been stupid. And I was smart enough to recognize that would have been stupid. Maybe some of you aren't. Maybe, not that you're not smart enough, but maybe you're reacting in a way that goes, that you're putting the blame on your spouse, that you're pointing the finger at them rather than recognizing, wait a minute, why does this bother me?
Yeah.
And I need to reckon with that first. Because it's not that the issue shouldn't be raised. Like, if there was a legitimate reason that I was embarrassed by you saying my name, then I need to talk to you about that. Even if it just hurts my feelings, I, probably should talk about it. But I also have to go, okay, what is it in me that needs, that reacts so strongly to this?
Well, and this is twofold, right? And so like, luckily I've modeled this because I knew that the teeth thing, is it tooth or teeth? It's an Arkansas story. Yeah. Like
that reminds me of the toothbrush joke. Do you know that? Yeah. So.
Okay. But I'm cheating. Okay. So luckily I modeled it because at the end of the last episode, I said, I'm going to need to get permission to share the story.
Right.
So I have enough history to know that this had been, like we've talked about it. Mm-hmm. And so I knew that it was a touchy thing. And so then while you've said, yes, I've healed from this, we did talk about it and I knew that was a problem. And so I knew that I needed to get permission before I told this story on
the interwebs.
Yeah, of the however many, all our friends that listen to it. Right. And so most of them have already heard it because we have told a lot of our friends the story.
Right,
But so as a spouse, you've shared this with me. This is a problem, and this bothers me, and so then I have to have the sensitivity to stop doing something that continues to injure you.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And so then, yes, you need to heal from it, but I also need to stop hurting you with it.
Right.
And so, like, there's a mutual responsibility here.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be able to say, "Hey, this bothers me," and then I need to say, "Well, I don't want it to bother you. I need to stop doing this." And so, So I think we both have a responsibility with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I think that's the key in a lot of these things is for us to recognize that nothing is one-sided, right? It's never one-sided.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that there aren't situations in which, like, I've borne the bulk of the blame, right? Yeah. Or that I was the one, or maybe you were the one who needed to make an adjustment in order to fix it. It's not that one person may not bear the greater weight of responsibility in a given situation, but it's never just one-sided.
Yeah.
Because there are always two of you, right? And so anyway, and what prompted this whole kind of conversation anyway is that there was a post that I had seen online, and I don't even know who to credit this quote to because they didn't credit the person in the post that I read. But it was a quote about marriage, and I'll just read it if that's okay. It says, "Marriage is the greatest instrument of sanctification. How would you ever learn unconditional love if you were married to someone who met all the conditions? How would you ever learn mercy, patience, long-suffering, heartfelt compassion if you were married to someone who never failed you, who is never difficult with you, who never sinned against you, who's never slow to acknowledge their sin or ask for forgiveness? How would you ever learn grace to pour out your favor on someone who did not deserve it if you were married to someone who was always deserving of all good things? The main purpose of marriage is that through your marriage, you both become conformed to the image of Jesus Christ, right? And I think for most people in the modern context, most people now, right, we go into marriage with the assumption that marriage is about making us happy, right? And it's not that God doesn't want our marriages to be happy, right? To be full of joy, for there to, it's not that that's not part of the recipe. It's baked into the thing. But if we go into marriage with the assumption that that is the chief end of marriage, that the point of marriage is to make me happy, you will be disappointed.
Yeah.
You will be disappointed. But if we go into marriage understanding that the purpose of marriage is for us to together be made more like Jesus and to bring glory and honor to him in that, then that changes the way that we see things, the way that we approach disagreements. It changes the way that we approach loving the other person. It changes, one of the things that you and I were talking about before we started recording was an instance where very early on in our marriage, I had a job with MCI, the long distance company. Some of you are too young to even remember long distance. But back in the day, you had to pay when you called someone who lived outside of a certain range of you. You couldn't just call anybody, so you paid for long distance. Like if the call was a certain number of miles away, then that was in long distance, right? So, and so I worked for a company that sold long distance packages to people. It was the worst job ever. It was a telemarketing. It was terrible. People would cuss at you and yell at you on the phone because they didn't want your unsolicited call and offer of, and I hated it. I hated it so much. And one day I called Jennifer from work on one of my breaks and said, "Can I please come home?" And I quit. I walked off the job.
So this was we got married in January and we were in an apartment and we moved into a house in April. So this was within the first 4 months of our marriage. I'm pretty sure it was like February. It was like early in our marriage.
Yeah. And now, of course, number one, I should have found another job before I just walked off a job, right? I was not mature enough to...
Yeah, you were 24. I was 20. You were 24. I remember when you called me and I was like, I remember feeling like, well, I felt bad for you hating your job. But I remember thinking, like when we had that phone call, I said, well, yeah, but you have to find another job.
Right,
Right. But I remember my thought going, I'm going to have to take care of our family. Like the thought that I had, I walked away from that, like on the phone, I instantly had this inner vow, like the responsibility is going to fall to me.
Yeah.
To make sure that this family is taken care of. He's not going to take care of me.
Yeah. And of course, I didn't know that in that moment. I didn't learn about that until later. And I would never in a million years have wanted to communicate that to you. I mean, in hindsight, I would have just stayed there no matter how much I hated it. I would have kept doing it until I found another job, which is, would have been the responsible thing to do. But I wasn't there yet, right? And also, there's something as a young man, like I knew that it was my responsibility to care for you. I knew that, and I went into our marriage wanting to be your friend, wanting to be a provider, wanting to make sure that you felt loved, wanting to, I had good intentions, but I way underestimated the value of making you feel safe. And those are connected in some ways, But that safety thing, man, it's a big deal for most women. But certainly it is for you. You need to feel safe with me, and emotionally safe, physically safe, financially safe. Like that's a big deal for you. I did not understand it. I didn't understand. Number one, I didn't understand how big a deal it was to you. Number two, I didn't understand how important it was for me as a husband to create a safe environment for you. And so I dropped the ball, not intentionally.
Right.
But in that moment, you made an inner vow that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like throughout the bulk of our marriage, I worked 2 jobs. I know there was a season I worked 3 jobs. I would teach a class at a college, I would work a full-time job, and then I would work like an on-call weekend job.
Yeah.
And so I know I was pregnant with Claire and doing that, you know. And so I worked a lot. And I know
part of that was that we have fundamentally different approaches in those seasons. Like your default is always work more. My default is do without.
Yeah.
Right. And so we had different approaches.
Well, but I always would think we've cut all we can cut. And you're always like, what else can we cut? And like, nothing. Like we've cut all we can cut. This is where we're at. And so, and to be fair too, like I've also had, I've had more education, and so it's been easier for me to work more jobs, right?
Your additional jobs
could make more money,
right? At least at that point in our marriage,
right?
Yeah,
sure. And so, so it just made more sense for it to be that way, right? And so, but yeah, so like it definitely the structure of our family.
Well, but the thing is, the unfortunate result of that is, yes, there's that reality that your side jobs paid more than the side jobs I could get at the time. But the fact that you were working the additional jobs continued to undercut and erode your sense of me caring for you.
Right. Yeah. Right. For sure. And so then again, it felt like the weight was on me. That it's like, okay, so if this is going to happen, if ends are going to be met, it's on me to make sure it happens.
Yeah. Now, the reality is, I should have insisted on working those additional jobs and not you, number one. Number two, there was something that God was working on in you through that season. So you want to talk about what that was?
I'm not sure what you're alluding to. What are you talking about?
Well, learning to trust me. I mean, what would that, I mean, so what was God sanctifying in you through that season?
Oh, well, I think it was more about learning to trust God. Like learning that He was going to take care of me. Like I had to learn to trust that He was going to take care of me. And I did see a shift in you. There was a season that that you were working nights at the Walmart distribution center, right? And so then you were even preaching on a Sunday. So then you would work. I feel like it was you'd work Saturday night, and so you'd get off at
3:00 in the morning.
Yeah, and then go and preach on Sunday, and then you go back Sunday night and work into Monday. And then you would sleep for a little bit, and then you go to work during the week. And so, there was a season that you were definitely working. You were doing crazy stuff too. And so then I did see a shift in those things.
Yeah, I was running. We had the Alltel store, the cell phone store.
Yeah,
I was running a business during the week, and then working at the Walmart distribution center on the weekends at night, and then preaching.
Yeah. And so I did see a shift in responsibility, in you doing those things. And so then, and then just a shift in then seeing how God would take care of us, and so it was more about understanding that it wasn't on me, that I had to lean on God to do those things and to shift those things.
And so for me, the thing that God was working on in that season was for me to model who Christ is in the way that I care for you, right? To give myself for you, to sacrifice for you, to, and for you, I sounds like at least that the challenge was for you to learn that God was going to be the one who took care of you, and that when I might have fallen short in that wasn't a reason for you to lose.
Yeah, well, and then when you quit telling me that we had to cut things and that you would look at it and help me to try to solve it, like when I would include you, because like when you would tell me we needed to cut things, I just quit including you and talking about it. Because like, look, we can't cut anything else. Like there's nothing else to cut. And so it's like I quit talking to you about it because it's like, look, there's like, we really aren't doing, And so when you quit like blowing me off and I would say, here's what we're dealing with, and you would really entertain the budget and talk to me about those things, like I felt like I could include you in it. And so that was a shift. And so like he's hearing me out, like he's hearing that where we're at in these things. And so like I know sometimes like you would glaze over and just be present and just would let me talk about it, and you didn't really but you would at least hear me out.
Sure.
Right. And so then those things have shifted, and then I think we talk more about our money in more of an engaging and then like processing, discussing way, and say like, here's where we're at. Like this is what's going on. And it's way more of a team than it has ever been.
Yeah.
And so I think if that was really it. And so I don't feel that you don't take care of me. I definitely feel like that's shifted.
Yeah. Well, and it has. I think that it has. I mean, I've grown up a lot. And,
for sure.
And I think if there's anything that we can look back at and take away from that is that, thank the Lord that we had an understanding of marriage. I mean, we might have thought it was about making us happy, but we were committed to it because of our faith, because of our, divorce really wasn't an option for us. Like we're in this, we just got to figure it out, and I think that goes a long, long way when people have that kind of attitude. But I think if I were talking to, either people who are preparing to get married or who are very early on in their marriage, I would want to help them to understand that thing. That my prayer and my hope, and I think that God's desire for you is for your marriage to be one that is happy, right? That you're happy together. But if that's what you think your marriage is all about, you're good. You've got to shift that understanding and understand that what you're committing to is glorifying God together and being committed to seeing each other become more like Jesus. But then also realizing that it's my responsibility to examine myself, right? It's not my job to tell Jennifer where she needs to be sanctified. Right? Now, there may be conversations where she invites me to speak into that, or I invite her to speak into that and say, hey, what do you see? Where do I need to grow? How can I be a better husband to you? What can I, there are times where we'll open and have those kind of conversations, but it's not my job to constantly point out those things to Jennifer. It's not my job to try to make Jennifer the wife that I want. It's my job to become the husband that Jennifer needs.
Well, we'll tweak that just a smidge. I think it's okay to say, hey, there's this thing that keeps happening that I want to process with you.
Sure.
Right? Like, I think you can have the conversation, but I don't think it needs to sound like a nagging conversation.
Right.
There's scripture about that a nagging wife is like a dripping faucet, something like that. And so you don't want to be like saying it over and over and over again. It says
better to live on the corner of the roof than to live in the house with a naked wife, or naked.
Well, hey, you might like that.
That's a whole different nagging.
A nagging wife. And so there'd be some arguments about that.
Yeah, no,
what would be better?
I'm moving in.
Anyway, but I think you need to consider that, like, you don't want to keep, badgering it, but there may be an opportunity for a conversation to say, hey, this is something that keeps happening repetitively. And so I want to bring it to your attention, and like, this is what's going on. This is how I'm feeling about it. Can we talk about it?
Well, and I would say that if we have that understanding of marriage, that it's about sanctifying us and refining us, then we'll invite those conversations. We'll be open to those conversations.
And it's really about delivery, though.
Yeah. Well, if I think it's your job to make me happy, then I'm going to point it out in a certain way.
Right.
But if my heart and my aim is for your good, and for you to become the very best person that you can be, for you to become like Jesus, well, that's going to come out in a totally different way. Right.
And so, like, I didn't ask for permission to tell this, but I think it's okay. Like, I can tell there was you'd had a conversation in one setting and you had said this particular thing. And then a few weeks later, you had a conversation in a different setting and you'd said a different thing. And so there was some inconsistency. And so then I brought it up to you and said, hey, I don't know if you realize this, but you had said these two different things in different contexts. And so like there was inconsistency in this. And so I don't think you know the answer here. So like I wanted to bring this up to you. And so like you're not saying the same thing here. And it was
I don't remember this.
That's okay. I'll tell you about it when we're not on the air. And so I'll remind you. But it's like, because it was about like a desire that you had.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And so I was like, so I think you need to figure out what you feel about this thing, because these things don't line up, you know? And so you're like, okay, yeah, I appreciate you saying that. I hadn't considered that these things were different. And so like, I could have come at you and going, you know, you big fat liar, you're saying the wrong thing, you know?
Right.
But I said, hey, I don't think you're aware of this, but you are communicating two separate things in these two different places. Mm-hmm. And so it was intended to be helpful and just to kind of point this out, but it wasn't hurt. It wasn't mean.
Yeah.
It wasn't yelly. It was just kind of, hey, let's talk about this. And so, I would hope that would be the way it would be done, you know, in a kind, loving way, not in a like, in a way that's just mean and just like putting someone down or say, you don't even know what you want. You keep saying the wrong thing and, you know, that kind of thing.
And look, like this runs the gamut as far as like from small things in your marriage to big things in your marriage. Mm-hmm. You know, the old cliche about they leave their underwear on the floor or that kind of stuff. That is a refining work in you. Mm-hmm. Like if it irritates you, so like, should they pick up their underwear? Yes. Is your response to the underwear on the floor appropriate? Maybe not, right? Because there's something in you that needs to be refined. Maybe it's producing the you know, the fruit of patience in your life. Maybe it's for, you know, whatever. Like there's a fruit of the Spirit that God is wanting to develop and to grow in you. And the only way for that to grow is for there to be something that runs counter to that, right? That gives you opportunity to exercise that fruit, right? To live out that value. And so like if Jennifer never did anything that got on my nerves, I wouldn't have opportunity to exercise patience, right? If, you know, if I always felt like you loved me in the way that I wanted to be loved, then I wouldn't have to exercise the fruit of love, right? That kind of, that unconditional love. And so it runs the gamut from the biggest things to the smallest things. Every part of marriage will run up against this. Now, that's not to say that single people can't be sanctified. They can. But for those of us who are married, this is the primary vehicle that God uses for our sanctification.
Yeah. Well, and I would also say that we need to be careful that when we're looking for our spouse to fulfill a need within us, like it really should be that we're looking to God to fulfill that need.
Yeah.
And that when God fulfills that need, then out of the abundance of that, like we get our needs met from our spouse.
I think people are disappointed in marriage a lot of times because they are putting expectations on their spouse that they should be putting on God.
Yep. And I would say that our marriage didn't get really, really good till we got really good with Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it wasn't until we got really solid in Christ that it even started looking good.
Yeah, and I mean, and, you know, and
we went through freedom a million times.
Yeah, and that should come as no surprise to us, right?
It surprised me.
Well, but I mean, the more like Jesus I become, the better husband I'll be.
Yeah.
The more like Jesus you become, the better wife you'll be. I mean, I don't think that should be shocking or surprising to us, but it still surprises us. Like we're still surprised by it, but it, you know, but it shouldn't be surprising to us. It should be the aim and the pursuit of our lives, understanding that, man, if I'm more like Jesus, I'm going to be a better husband.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a better dad. I'm going to be a better pastor. I'm going to be a better employee. I'm going to be a better boss. I'm going to be, you know, if I am more like Jesus, I will get better in all of these arenas.
It's just out of the outflow of that closeness to God that you become better all around.
Yeah.
You become a better employee. You know, you become a better parent. You just become a better friend.
Yeah.
All the things. And so it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
And if you're putting those kind of expectations on your spouse, if I'm expecting Jennifer to fulfill the deep desires of my heart that only God can fulfill, that is so unfair to Jennifer. Like you're crushed under the weight of that kind of expectation because no one else was meant to fill that hole in our hearts except for God.
Yeah.
And it's only when I am satisfied in God, right? When I am resting in him, when I am trusting in him, when I am fully leaning in on him, it's only when I'm doing that every other relationship, including my marriage and primarily my marriage, takes its proper perspective. And I'm able to love you well when I am being loved by God and loving God in the way that I was created to.
So what kind of homework would you like to give our listeners?
Well, I mean, I think do an honest self-assessment. Like put the fruits of the Spirit on, put them down, write them down on a piece of paper, and then really ask the Lord, which of these do I need to grow in? And how are you using my marriage to produce it in me?
So even sometimes we have people that aren't married that are listening. So how are you producing these in my life? So any relationship. So you can definitely Google to find where it is. Do you know what the reference is for the fruits of the Spirit?
The fruits of the Spirit? Galatians chapter 5.
Okay. So we'll just say them here just in case. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And so you only got the last one. I know all of them.
Wow. I was just letting you.
Whatever.
So I was going to sing the song.
Well, that's okay. I beat you to it. So those are the 9 options. And so and really they're about fruit. And so I think I want to make sure people understand that. And so a fruit doesn't you don't see a tree going out and just pushing out a pear, right? It grows, it develops. Yeah. So you don't just make those happen. And so you can't just try to have self-control, right? It is out of the abundance of your relationship with God that those things come.
Yeah.
And so don't get discouraged if those things don't happen, if you don't have them easily, because it's a fruit, it develops.
Right.
And so it's natural. So when you get close to Jesus, they just show up.
Yeah.
And so, but it is good to kind of assess those and go, okay, so what do I feel like am I developed? What has God worked in me already?
Yeah.
And where are these areas that I need to kind of say, God, I need you to work on me here. What's not there yet, and submit those things to him, and then look around and kind of see where he does that. Now, get in mind, it's not overnight.
Right.
You don't wake up and there's a full-grown pear. It takes a little bit. It takes a season. It takes a while to develop. And so it needs to be watered, needs to be tended to. It's going to happen. It takes some time.
Yeah. And I mean, it can be simple. Like I said, it can be really simple things. I don't know why this came to my mind just now, but maybe your spouse is eating your snacks, right? And
that's rude.
But maybe you're selfish.
Okay.
Right? Do you know what I mean?
Maybe you're parking in my parking spot.
Yeah.
Carly.
Wow, just called her out. Man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so
yeah,
there are all kinds of ways that this manifests itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So asking God to show you where that's happening,
right,
and what you need to do to let it go.
Right, and then listen.
Mm-hmm.
Listen.
Okay, good deal. So you know what? We tried to brainstorm our tagline.
Yeah.
We had 2 options that we had narrowed it down to.
I can't remember them. I know you do. So.
Well, I remember one of them. I remember the one that I was voting for.
Oh.
The best part of waking up is coffee on your nightstand. That's what I was leaning towards. And you were like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was trying to use the link a jingle.
Right. I know. But I'm not wowed by it.
I know.
But you guys can vote.
Oh, well, you
nightstandcoffee@gmail.com.
Yeah, but you don't remember what yours was, so... Mine's the only one up for voting. I win.
Yeah. I can't remember what it was.
I don't know. It's okay. So for now, that's what we'll say. Send us an email at
nightstandcoffee@gmail.com.
And so,
let us know. Yeah.
Anything. We've gotten a couple of emails, so we'd love to hear from you.
Oh, have we?
Yes, we have. You should check.
You haven't told me.
Yes, I did too. Yes, I did. Because you actually read one of them, so you did read them. My poor husband.
I don't remember anything.
I know. So maybe I'll be sanctified, reminding you of things. So send us an email. Let us know if you have any questions, if you have any topics that you would like us to cover, or any questions for us for feedback. We'd love to hear from you. And as long as Todd's pneumonia doesn't come back, we'll be back next week.
Yep. See you guys.
Bye-bye.